the thing that happened with Cumulative Layout Shift is we started to get developer complaints like it is really difficult for single page apps that are open for a really long time, that the score goes up a lot. And we did an analysis because we do know in the Chrome metrics, like, oh, how long is the page open? And we did an analysis and we didn't find a huge number of pages that were open for a super long time and had this issue, but we saw like a big variation. And when we looked at individual sites that were open for a long time, we felt like that it did seem like that the metric probably wasn't too fair to those sites. And I think it's really important that that we work really hard in order to try to be more fair to all the sites, even if like it doesn't kind of show up in the overall statistics. So that's why that we decided we were going to do something about this problem. And so one thing we did to start was we took a bunch of different web pages. So we took a bunch of like pages directly from developer complaints. This person says like, okay, I have a single page app and I'm trying to do a transition. Here's the app, here's the transition. This is why I feel the metric is unfair. We had some examples of things, but at the beginning when we invented the metric, like what did we want to catch? And then we did like that analysis that I talked about where we looked at real world data and what are the sites actually doing. And one thing that we found stood out a lot, for example, was infinite scrollers. Let's say you have a tiny footer and the page is scrolling and the footer just shifts a little bit as more content loads in. And it's a little annoying, but it doesn't add up to like infinite annoyance. So we took all these different user experience, single page apps, infinite scrolls, non-infinite scrolls, things we felt should be annoying people. We did a user study to try and rank like how much good experiences and bad experiences that we had from examples, like how much the users actually feel those are good and bad experiences. And we ranked this kind of set of 50 sites. And we had a lot of different ideas about what we might do to make things more fair along with pages. The most obvious idea is just like the average layout shift, right? You take the time spent on the page and then you divide it by the sum of the layout shift. There were a bunch of ideas about how we might break the layout shifts into windows. And then once we had such windows, like what could we do about them? What statistic might we report on them? There are also other ideas like what if you just reported like the worst single layout shift? So we took all of these ideas and we implemented them. And as we had basically what we did with these manual test cases was we recorded the layout shift and showed that we recorded a video of it that we showed to users, but we also recorded a Chrome trace, which has all the data about like what layout shifts are happening. And we scored all these different versions of the metric based on how closely they rated to what the users said about like how bad this site is. And then we came up with kind of a top three. They all tended to be windowing strategies, 2 max windows and an average window. And we implemented those in Chrome and we looked at scale. Okay, now that we have the data for like kind of all the URLs above a certain threshold of usage, how do the different strategies that we came up compare? What are the sites that they ranked most differently from each other and that they would rank most differently from Cumulative Layout Shift? We looked at like kind of like if you explain like what the website's trying to do, or what's the difference kind of in English, like if we have a really small window and the web page loads really slowly, you could chunk the layout shifts into groups. So that was bad. So we wanted the window to kind of expand to cover that. But then we also looked at like, how does it handle, like some of the differences were in how they handled infinite scrollers and things like that. So we kind of looked at all of the data that came back from that. And we also, like, as soon as we started to implement these things in Chrome, we wrote a blog post about like what we're implementing and why, and we asked for developer feedback, and we got a lot of helpful developer feedback as well. And that kind of guided our choice to specifically Saftion windows. We got a lot of positive feedback about that. So we took the data from the manual user study, implemented everything, did a user study at scale about how the metrics differ, took developer feedback, and that's how we came to the next version of CLS.